Good afternoon, everyone. How's your day going? Good. So what we are going to talk about today is how you can modernize and get modern capabilities to really support your business better through SaaS-based IGA solutions. But before we get started, a little bit about myself. My name is Abhi Sharma, work for a company called IDMWORKS. Have been in this space for a very long time, right? So I have seen some stories, good and bad, so I'll share some of those with you as well, and hopefully you can take away something based on what I have seen and, being in this space for a while. So I'll start with a story. It's not a story, actually. It's my involvement with a large deployment of an IGA software in 2012, like more than 12 years ago. Back in the day, the only solutions that were available were software solutions, right? Some of these SaaS solutions began to be developed at that time, but they were nowhere near in terms of maturity of what software solutions provided. So we were migrating from, this is a global insurance company. They're present in 75 countries. And they had one solution deployed already, primarily in North America. Now, they had some challenges with the scalability of that solution that they had because they wanted to roll out globally. Like I said, they're present in 75 countries, so imagine the scale. So they started looking at alternative solutions, and they have selected another software solution to migrate to. Obviously, it is more modern compared to what they had. So the journey began. We started unpacking what they have built with the existing software while working on some of the process standardization efforts, because now we are going to roll it out globally. So there were a few areas where we had to streamline some of the processes so that you're not dealing with various deployments of the same solution in multiple countries. Now, how do you do it? Because you have to make sure it's a global company. You have to make sure the solution that we are developing is highly available, it's scalable, and it supports that kind of load. They have 75,000 employees at that time. So we started designing the infrastructure because it's a software they're going to deploy in their own data center. We started architecting the hardware infrastructure of the solution. And long story short, we ended up building a clustered deployment of the solution, deployed in North America data center and European data center. We started deploying. I'm not going to share little stories in between, but it took us 2.5 years to get them off of the solution that they were using and roll out this new solution globally. 2.5 years. I left that project after that, but some of my colleagues continued to support that infrastructure for a while. What challenge they faced? They kept integrating other applications, over the years. Very quickly, they fell behind on the version that they were running. So now you have to upgrade. And I was checking on my colleagues that were supporting. On an average, it took them about, give or take, 10 to 12 weeks for every upgrade, because they had to do so much of regression testing. As the integrations increased, more regression testing was required to make sure that the solution will work after each upgrade. So as you can imagine, this company spent several $1 million over these years just to get it up and running. There was another one, this was in 2012. There was another one which is more recent, around 19, right? Again, this was upgrade from one software to another software. In this case, it was not as long because this company was not as big. They were primarily present in North America. But with their existing solution, they built some custom integrations, which was not known to us at the time, we did an estimation of the effort as to what it will take. So what happened was, as we started deploying, we found out about these custom integrations. In the end, we ended up solving it, but the new solution addressed that same use case in a different manner. So that required a lot of working with some of those teams to make sure that the new solution will still support the use cases that they had deployed with the previous solution. The reason I'm saying all of this is, the point being, we have seen over and over again that software solutions are difficult and expensive to manage and maintain over time. Especially if you have a lot of integrations, there's cost associated with upgrades. There's cost associated with maintaining your infrastructure over time. Like if you deploy a complex solution, it takes time. So what is changing? So I will begin by setting the context of how things are different now compared to how it was like a decade ago. If you look at every company, probably your organizations too, there are several pockets of your organization that are moving increasingly to the cloud, and for the right reasons. If you look at back in the day, when we used to integrate like an HR system with IGA, right? For the most part, it used to be an on-prem software. Now Workday is cloud, everything else is cloud, right? I have not come across an on-prem HR system in a while. All the SAP software is moving to the cloud, whether it's SAP HANA, Oracle CRP, you name it. The point being, all the commercial software that used to exist before, they're moving to the cloud. If you look at security innovations within identity management, even outside, cybersecurity overall, you have heard a lot of presentation, you have met a lot of vendors. The market forces are demanding and driving them to deliver solutions for the cloud. Why? I'll give two examples. Look at CrowdStrike. Look at Zscaler, right? Some of those other solutions that do other cybersecurity problem solving. They do a lot of analytics because we live in a world where we are trying to get smarter about making decisions more near real time. That requires a lot of data, that requires a lot of analytics, and that requires a lot of horsepower. If you look at all modern solutions, right, now we are increasingly talking about AI-driven analytics to provide you better insights, to improve your business processes, to get you to a point where you can make more dynamic access decisions. In came Zero Trust. Now we are talking about, traditionally, right, we had an IGA lane, we had a PAM lane, we had whatever lane, right? We cannot function like that anymore. Now we are talking about how do we orchestrate between those different layers, right, so that we look at all the things holistically. We have a better view as to what the attack surface looked like, right? So that with the right amount of data, right level of data, we can use those modern capabilities to get a little ahead of the threat. Then AI-driven approaches, especially in areas like role-based access, right? We have all learned over the years that top-down static role management is unsustainable because we live in a world that changes every day. What you did with role-based access 6 months ago, using point-in data at that time, has changed. So, because business is not static, business is changing every day. So how do we be more dynamically learning the access landscape and then remodel our roles over time? So these are some of the contextual items that you see that is changing in the marketplace. In the end, we want to deliver innovative solutions. We want to get smarter about reporting and analytics capabilities so that we can support our growth of a business better. Now, on the technology side, what has changed? So I gave you that example, like back in 2012, there were rarely any SaaS solutions available, right? Some vendors started building SaaS capabilities, right? But some of the older solutions no longer exist now. Like this couple of examples that I gave you from, software A to software B migration, some of those vendors no longer exist. Some have survived, but they started offering their software solutions from that time as a SaaS offering. However, as they started doing that, it took them a while to get to a point where there is feature parity between their SaaS offering and their software offering. On top of that, new vendors have come along with SaaS-only cloud-native solutions. I was reading an article in Harvard Business Review, and it says one thing. Around 2010, Amazon, we all know Amazon made about one change to their website every 11 seconds. Fast forward, in 2015, they were making a change every second. What does it mean? They are reimagining, reinventing themselves that fast. Now, take a moment and think. If you have a large monolithic software that is providing your IGA or any identity management capability, as the vendors innovate, they bring new things to the market, you cannot leverage it until you upgrade your software. That's a reality. That's a fact. And there's cost associated with it. And they are not giving you an upgrade every second. If you have software, they're giving you an upgrade every few months, maybe every few weeks. I don't know. The point being, the architecture is changing. Now, all the vendors are trying to get from a monolithic software to a more microservices architecture, where there are different parts of the solution is one microservice that allows them to innovate faster, bring and release capabilities to you faster. And I would say this, the pace of innovation that we have seen across cybersecurity in identity management is significantly faster than what we saw like 10 years ago. Then other trend we see that a lot of you have talked to many vendors. I think there's a good thing that is happening. We all heard about converged identity. So people are trying to provide you more. Like you as a buyer, you're thinking, well, I don't want to have 100 tools in my toolkit, right? I need to reduce that, and rightfully so. So now some of the vendors are beginning to offer more IAM capabilities from their suite. The most common being IGA and PAM. And that's a good thing. Now, I would also say this. It takes time to mature any solution. Like, I'll take some names, right? If you say CyberArk as an example, they have been doing PAM forever. Another solution, when they try offering PAM out of their platform, they cannot be CyberArk overnight. It will take time. But the point being, you can leverage that to grow your capabilities with the vendor. Many of them have enough to get you started. So these are some of the trends that we see. The other thing that I want to call out is AI-based approaches. We must leverage that. Now, I will also say this. You may hear a lot of AI stories from vendors, but I'd also say this, AI capabilities have some maturity to cover. But I like one of the presenters when he spoke about today that don't keep waiting, get started now, right? Capabilities will always mature, right? You can grow with them. And then going back to my previous comment about cloud, now you also have, in the past, you dealt with your own stuff, that your own data center. Now more cloud and multi-cloud. So you have to look across those multi-cloud environment as well and have the same level of visibility as to what you have to your own infrastructure. So why should you migrate to SaaS with all that said? First of all, like I said, it is expensive to maintain software. The pace of innovation that is available for you is slower with software solutions because it takes time to upgrade. There's only so many releases after so many times or so many weeks. And it then, even after the availability of those releases, it takes time for you to actually deploy it in your environment. Total cost of ownership. This is one thing that I really like to talk about. When you look at total cost of ownership, there are two vectors. One is cost of maintaining the technology. Second is cost of supporting custom processes. Why am I saying this? Because as you start looking at SaaS capabilities, especially within identity governance, because we support a lot of business processes within identity governance, what a lot of companies did was, because they had a software that had a workflow and they could customize, they never questioned the process. They always customized the solution because they could. And that adds to your total cost of ownership over time. One of the things that I highly encourage our customers to do is question the status quo. If there is a certain way that process is running, along with technology innovation, we also need to do process innovation. Start asking questions of why do we do this thing this way? How about simplifying this and do it that way, right? So that over time, you are not supporting complex business processes. Now, I'm not saying that you have to make wholesale changes to your business process. But where you see that it is less than adequate, could have been simpler, could have maybe improved user experience along the way, start questioning those so that you can automate a better process. Don't automate a bad process. Solution capability, new features. I talked about AI, talked about cloud access management. One other thing that you want to keep in mind is orchestration. When you have those different solutions, you want them to talk to each other so that you are looking at entirely new vectors so that you can use that information to improve processes over time. Finally, resource utilization. As you move to SaaS, you are no longer supporting infrastructure on your own. And as is, people are expensive. It's hard to find resources. You want to reskill and retrain them and participate in more value-adding tasks for your business. So this is a little flow chart. Although I say that, the question is, yes, this is all great. But is SaaS, especially if you have an existing software in your data center, you start asking, is SaaS right for me? The question is probably in most cases, yes. And the reason I'm saying that, the capability gap between SaaS offerings and software offerings have significantly reduced in the last few years. So SaaS offerings are most mature that you have seen them, right, in a while. So absolutely it's a now. Now, if you have an existing software deployment that you haven't integrated, we have seen many customers, right, they have bought software but integrated maybe with AD and a couple other systems, right? If you're one of them, it is easy to do one-time cutover. If you are one that you have significant integration with your software solution, then you may have to run both in parallel and do progressive cutover to the new solution. So there are ways that you can do it. This chart kind of provides you a decision tree to see where you are at and whether SaaS is right for you right now. And I would say that, at least what I have seen, that in the last few years, a lot of large companies have successfully migrated to SaaS. So if they can, then you can too. What are the critical business, critical success factors? Business user experience. As you change from any system to another, right, there will be some impact to users. So how do you engage your change management and other communication platforms to get ahead of the game and communicate that this is something that's coming, it is changing A, B, and C, and what to expect as a result of that. Connectivity, right? Any critical business applications that you have, preferably you have a CMDB that has a list of critical applications that you want to integrate, right? Those are the things that you want to make sure that the new solution is able to connect natively to those applications. And we talked about modern role-based access. We talked about cloud infrastructure and entitlement management. Finally, what are some of the challenges, right? A, portability. So making sure that your existing integration, you don't necessarily want to go down, but you are able to support those integrations going forward as well. Some SaaS solutions require that you deploy something on-prem so that they can connect to on-prem infrastructure. Not all solutions, some solutions require that. Then how will you secure that appliance that is going to be on your on-prem because it has a hook from the internet to your environment? Realization of ROI, communicate to your business that while doing this, they will not start saving money from tomorrow. There is a certain amount of time that it will take for them to realize that ROI, but it will save them in terms of manpower, in terms of key skills that are difficult to get, so that you can focus more on automation, more on integration, and less on supporting hardware and operating system. And finally, communication and user training. So I'll go over quickly this slide. It is very important if you have an existing deployment, do a complete analysis of what integrations you have built, including any custom integrations that you have. Because those are the things that you have to solve for, sometimes maybe even required to change some business process so that you are able to support it, and that requires a lot of engagement with your key stakeholders, right, so that they can provide their input, you can socialize and gain their support in this journey. So that, and again, we talked about those categories. 1, 2, and 3, if you're lightly integrated or heavily integrated, or if you have complex compliance requirements, right? You want to make sure that you fall one of these categories. If you're in category 1, you can do one-time cutover. If you're in category 2 or 3, you may have to do parallel running for a bit so that you can finally migrate off of that platform. And as you go through that process, your integration with the existing solution goes down, and you ramp up integrations with the new solutions. So that's the end of my presentation. Any questions? Yes? So great question. So the question is, SaaS solutions are expensive. How do you make a case for getting funding for that from your business, right? So like I said, you are not going to save money from day one. In fact, I will in fact say this, you are probably supporting both solutions if you are doing a phased migration for a period of time. You cannot demonstrate a 1-year ROI. You have to show the ROI that goes over a 5-year period. Okay? So I think we are up for time, but I'll say one thing. We have a great white paper on this subject. You can go to our website and download it. It kind of delves into some of this detail a little bit more. Thank you.